Scott, a few milestones to touch upon tonight. You set a franchise record for most points in a single season by Jets 1.0, Thrashers or Jets 2.0. What does it mean to do in front of these fans?
Yeah, again, amazing accomplishment for these guys to put a season together like that. We've done some really outstanding things this year, and when you start day one, game one, you don't anticipate something like this happening, and there's been a lot of fantastic things. I can't credit the players enough for what they've done, and just stayed focused all 82 games, and to get it here at the end was special, and in front of our fans.
A couple of players were asked about the Jennings trophy, and I think they both said buy-in and commitment in terms of what it says about the group. But what do you see from the top? Why did this team do it twice in a row?
Well, we talked about it in training camp that was, actually the players talked about it. We did a lot of team building stuff at the beginning of the year, and we had some groups that we split them up to groups, and it was amazing that every group came back. That part of our identity, first and foremost, was going to be our how we defended like we did last year, and how it gave us a chance to win hockey games and to be in hockey games that we had enough skill to score goals. But everybody knows that when it comes to game 83 and on, the teams that defend the best are the ones that usually end up at the end of the day, holding that trophy. So the buy-in from these guys the last couple of years has been amazing. And, it isn't just defensive, players. It's your top players, your offensive guys, your role players. It's everybody believing in a certain way to play. And, that gives you the chance to win hockey games. And, you back it up with an outstanding goaltender. Goaltenders, that makes it that much more difficult to play against us.
Looking back on this season, you mentioned it's not just role players and whatnot. How much do you think that the impact of Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor's evolving defensive game has contributed to you guys repeating as the Jennings?
Well, it certainly is those two, recognizing that they have to play a certain way so they're not chasing the game in their end of the rink all night long. But that's been everybody. That isn't just those two. It can be, like Adam Lowry was a good defender. Now he's a great defender. Mason Appleton, Sandberg, like those guys were good defenders, and now they've become, they're the pride that they take in defending every night. It's fun to watch, and I'm real proud to see these guys do it on a nightly basis. And we talk about our defending. Our defending isn't just in our end of the rink. It's when we don't have the puck. It's a part of our forecheck. It's part of our tracking. It's part of how we defend through the neutral zone. And it just if you do it long enough, hard enough, it can frustrate the opposition, and that's where our offense comes from. And that's the biggest thing for me, is that we haven't taken away from our offense. Our offense has actually even gotten better because of it. And I think the players recognize that you do the right things without the puck, you have it more on your stick, and now you can go do all the fun things, and that's score goals.
Is there any element of that, like when you're a coach and you're teaching and you're preaching defense, and you say, well, the offense is going to come, you guys are going to get those opportunities, but is there any element of that you had to learn and be like, phew, yep, they did score as much as I told them they were going to?
Well, I think we have the offensive talent that once they puck gets in their hands, that they're going to do the right things, and they're going to make it hard on the opposition. But that started a few years ago, that we started to talk about how we had to play when we didn't have the puck, and it's gradually our offensive side. We still talk about offense. We still look at teams, how they defend us on the rush, how they defend us in their end of the rink. There's areas that if it's a man-on-man team, how we attack them. We have game plans for teams that swarm. So there's lots of areas where we do work on our offense just as much as we do on our defense. But if you don't have the puck, you got to get it back, and that's these guys have recognized that the faster they get it back, the more more chances we are in a position for us to score goals.
Scott, your singular focus has been such a key for your group, but is there a signature moment for you that will stand out about the regular season, or a theme on the whole?
A lot of the stuff we talked about, and there's for us, we had a list of them. I can't tell you them all, but we talked about getting off to a great start. We did that. We talked about, those I had mentioned a few times about the 3 sort of seasons that are within the season, and we came out of those 3 different segments. And then the last one ended tonight, but won all those segments and won them, going away and eliminating the 8 teams, winning the Central. Like we hit a lot of things that we were shooting for, and that's where our leadership and our group has just bought into the team first mentality. And I know I can't hit it right on the button on one. Just how proud I am of that. We had some goals and some things that we want to do coming out of training camp, and kind of to your point, you don't know if it's going to happen. You're hoping that it's going to work. And it's been these 82 games have been just fantastic.
Sorry, just one more on Neil Pionk. Him coming back in the lineup. We've talked a lot about Neil's presence, off the ice, in your room, but Neil Pionk in your lineup, especially going to the playoffs here, like how important is his presence for the Winnipeg Jets going into the stretch run?
Yeah, we know what he does. Like you mentioned, all those great things about him being a leader and, the room and all that stuff. But the other side for me is you really notice that he has an offensive side to him. You saw it tonight, but he has an offensive side much like Josh Morrissey, and those are important, because if we're trying to create our offense, it has to come from everybody on the ice. It has to come from your back end as well. We've been harping this for the last 3 years here about the offense has to come from all 5 guys on the ice. And if our D aren't a part of that, it's real easy to shut us down. And when Neil's not there, that's another weapon for us, not only on the power play, but 5-on-5, he makes plays. And he, whether that's passing the puck or getting that shot off, he has a real good offensive instinct that we miss when he's not there. Thank you. Yep, thanks.